Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. In two previous live streams, I talked about the fallout from the 2024 election. Now, in the first live stream, I detailed why Kamala Harris wound up losing the 2024 election, and in a second live stream, I detailed how Hollywood no longer has influence on the American people, and how that was a part of the fallout of the 2024 election, where Kamala Harris was handily beaten by former President Donald Trump, who won the Electoral College and also this time wound up winning the popular vote as well. Now, I want to continue on with this series by talking about the fallout as related to the 2024 election, as related to black media, because it was in black media where we saw significant changes as related to how many candidates like Kamala Harris are being seen, and how the Blue Party overall wound up losing the black vote. And one of the reasons why they wound up losing the black vote was mainly due to black media on the mainstream side basically going out here and pushing Kamala Harris very hard and never looking to connect with many of the black people who basically were no longer listening to these pundits or these black celebrities, and instead were listening to growing voices on new black media. Now, many of those who were a part of the mainstream black media were basically completely disconnected from the black audience, and that disconnect was shown with their just zealous support of Kamala Harris, to the point where they were basically presenting Kamala Harris from a perspective of propaganda. Now, in the case of propaganda, this is where all the media is so slanted that you don't get any sort of counterpoint, and with the mainstream black media pundits and the mainstream black celebrities, they went out here and supported Kamala Harris to the point where they never wanted to see any of her flaws, nor did they want to present any sort of counterpoint, and even worse, they were so polarized to the point where they would literally look to go out here and attack any person in the black community who sought to question the support of Kamala Harris, and this further alienated most black voters who were already upset because of the way Joe Biden had basically treated them in 2020, because in 2020, when Joe Biden was the president-elect, he took black leaders into a room, and as he took the black leaders into a room, he told those black leaders he could do nothing for the black community, and with that expression of contempt that was presented on social media, this wound up alienating the entire black voting bloc up to a point, and that's where Joe Biden basically wound up losing the election. However, Joe Biden indignantly continued to go on until he wound up having that disastrous debate appearance, and after he had that disastrous debate appearance, he basically had to step down, and then they recruited Kamala Harris without having a primary to become their presidential nominee. Unfortunately, what was happening as the black media was going out here to go gung-ho for Kamala Harris, they could not see that the media landscape had completely changed over the last 16 years since Barack Obama wound up running for president. Now, back in 2008, when Barack Obama ran for president, he had the support of the mainstream media when Oprah Winfrey at the time was at her peak, and the Queen Maker, and as the Queen or the King Maker, she brought Barack Obama up on her mainstream media platform and gave him immediate legitimacy by validating this junior senator. And after she validated this junior senator, he was able to get the support of the black masses, and this is how he was able to go out here and get that huge support from black voters that led to him becoming the first biracial black president of the United States. Now, after getting that support, Barack Obama promised black voters hope and change, and as he went out here and made that campaign of hope and change, many black people thought that they were going to see actual hope and change in black communities. However, Barack Obama decided that he wanted to be the president of all America and looked to ignore black America. And as he was out here promoting his hope and change, he had that support of the mainstream media. However, as he was out here, the mainstream media and the mainstream black media went out here and pushed him. People like Roland Martin, people like Don Lemon, and people like Joy Reid, they went out here pushing Barack Obama. Unfortunately, Barack Obama was starting to lose support around 2012, and it was around 2012 as we saw a competitor come to black media, and that was New Black Media. Now, New Black Media is basically people who were out here like YouTubers such as Your World, Mr. Superboy, Lisa Cabrera, Mad Black 80, Professor Black Truth, Mr. Chris from Chris and Company. I mean, New Black Media was starting to get on the rise, and as New Black Media started to get on the rise, the voices of New Black Media started presenting a counterpoint to mainstream media, which was basically a bunch of Barack Obama cheerleaders. And one of the biggest voices that many people don't remember is the late David Carroll, who came out around 2012 with his classic masterpiece, No Hope, No Change for the Negro, where he talked all about Barack Hussein Obama and went out here and presented a point regarding Barack Obama and how he would bring no hope and no change. And that got a lot of traction because around that same time we started to see the death of Trayvon Martin. And as we saw the death of Trayvon Martin, many people started to listen to David Carroll. And as he talked not only about the whole situation with Barack Obama, he also talked about Trayvon Martin. Moreover, he also talked about the Blue Party and how the Blue Party basically was not going out here looking to serve black voters, but basically just go out here and take the black vote for granted. And as he was out here, he also talked about the complete political process, trying to explain the political process to black people, and went out here and again presented a powerful counterpoint. And that counterpoint basically started to change the whole dynamic of politics in black communities. So David Carroll was one of the major voices of New Black Media that basically started things as related to traction with his classic masterpiece, No Hope, No Change for the Negro, and his voice, along with other voices such as Jason Black and Professor Black Truth, who originated the talking point of tangibles and getting tangibles in exchange for your vote. These men basically went out here and started presenting a counterpoint on New Black Media, and this counterpoint was what really started the momentum of change of perception of black voters. And as black voters learned about things like critical thinking and learned more about the political process, this basically led to a complete change of mind of many black people who basically were seeing Barack Obama not give black people any sort of hope and change, but would go out here and condescend and lecture to black people. And as he would go out here and condescend and lecture black people, he was going out here thinking that he was speaking in ways that would please whites and non-blacks, but what he was doing was basically alienating the entire black voting bloc that voted for him 98%. But as for the 2012 election, we started to see that Barack Obama's whole approach to black voters and his expression of contempt to black voters started to see that the black vote wasn't that solid base that he originally had back in 2008. No, that base was starting to erode, and that base was basically eroding as far back as 2012. Unfortunately, when it came to Barack Obama, he was one of these guys who was completely disconnected from black voters as a bloc because of his numerous daddy issues and his numerous issues as related to his perception of black people, especially heterosexual black men, due to his daddy issues. And as a result of him having these issues, he couldn't see that he was alienating the black voting bloc, and that was further getting to be compounded and further getting compounded because as Barack Obama continued to speak down and talk down to black people, what was happening is people who were a part of new black media were educating most black people about the whole political process. Again, David Carroll would present videos practically every week explaining the dysfunction of black people as related to the political process, and whether you didn't agree with him or not, he had tremendous influence on black people who were watching new black media because as a result of of those decisions of the Telecom Act of 96 consolidating media and Congress's decision to make TV go digital in 2009, black audiences were not watching television, so they were not sitting up there getting excited about someone like Oprah Winfrey like they did back in 2008 and getting excited because we saw a prominent black person on TV. No, people weren't even watching any of these black pundits like your Joy Reids or your Don Lemons or your Roland Martins. No, those shows were getting no traction because people were watching people on YouTube. And as they were watching black people on YouTube talk about politics, like David Carroll, like Your World Mr. Superboy when he was on YouTube, and people like Professor Black Truth and Jason Black and Lisa Cabrera, when people started watching those people on new black media, as they sat there and watched those people, they started to get a completely different perspective of black people and the subtle politics transpiring around us, and that was changing the perspective of black people who were out here before Barack Obama voting straight down blue tickets and continued to vote straight down blue tickets. But as far as 2012, we started to see that whole paradigm completely shift, and I have to say that possibly has to be due to David Carroll speaking out as related to speaking against the Blue Party, the first black man I've ever seen have that kind of impact on the entire black voting bloc. And that took time, that cracked the base. And again, as the base started to crack, we started to see the base start to erode, and that base further eroded in 2016 as Barack Obama condescended to black people, talking about his legacy. And as he talked about his legacy of doing nothing for black people, this basically torpedoed the whole campaign of Hillary Clinton, who was looking to become the first woman president, but because of Barack Obama and his obsession with his just not looking to do anything for black people, he basically alienated the black vote, and we started to see further erosion of the black vote, and started to see further erosion of the black vote because new black media was starting to have more of an impact on the black voting bloc, as people like Professor Black Truth went out here and presented a message of talking about tangibles and saying that if there were no tangibles or no black agenda, there should be no black vote. Well, I believe that was one of the reasons why a lot of black people wound up having a reason to stay home, and why Hillary Clinton wound up losing the 2016 election to Donald Trump, because many black people were watching new black media, and new black media started to have more of an influence on the black voting bloc, and that was shown in the statistics where we saw black voters again not going out on a regular to go out here and support Hillary Clinton or the Blue Party, and we saw this go on from 2016, and in the 2020 election we further saw this trend continue to go on even with Joe Biden winning, I mean, Joe Biden did win and he did get a lot of black votes, but we saw that on the red side, Donald Trump picked up some voters from black men, and we also saw that he basically was starting to gain ground with different demographics, but we saw the growing impact of new black media in 2020, and we start to continue to see the impact of new black media as we go from 2020, because the main reason why Joe Biden only won was because of the pandemic. Had it not been the pandemic, basically we would have saw even more progress with the black vote, and we would have saw even more progress with the black vote pushing back, and we possibly would have saw that Trump landslide, because before the pandemic, I was saying to myself that whoever the blue party runs, they're going to get crushed like Walter Mondale in 1984. And basically, if it wasn't for the pandemic, Joe Biden might have gotten crushed like Walter Mondale in 1984. But because of the pandemic and everything with the pandemic, Joe Biden was able to win. And as he was able to win, he basically was out here, he just was looking to maintain the status quo. And furthermore, as he looked to maintain the status quo, he expressed contempt to black voters. And again, expressing that contempt to black voters was basically the thing that put the nail in his coffin back in December of 2020 for his 2024 presidential chances. Now, many people will think Joe Biden lost the election as related to that debate in 2024. No, he lost that debate in 2020 in December when he threw a middle finger up at black voters and told them he could do nothing for them and to go to Hispanics. And when he told them to go to Hispanics, the black masses just walked away from him. And basically, as new black media played that tape over and over again, it wound up basically alienating the black voting bloc from Joe Biden. Moreover, the new black media also played the tape of Kamala Harris talking about how she would do nothing for black people specifically, and these two tapes put the nails in the coffin of the blue party for 2024. And as 2024 went on and we had most of the black media, basically Kamala Harris looked to get support from the black media, and she wound up turning away from new black media because the people in the blue party are completely detached and disconnected. They're completely detached and disconnected from the most black people who no longer watch anything on channels like CNN or channels of mainstream media platforms. I mean, most black people don't watch anything on these platforms. So when you had Kamala Harris going out here and campaigning, she was basically talking to dead air because most people were getting their news and their media from new black media, and they were basically being presented with information that would tell them what was the truth regarding the political process. Moreover, they were taught about Kamala Harris's record, so that showed how we had a complete paradigm shift as related to media and how black people receive media. Unfortunately, those in the blue party were still stuck in a place of about 1992 to 2008 as related to legacy media. And as they were out here, they were going out here using approaches to try to reach the black masses that had basically had been obsolete. I mean, when I look at Kamala Harris's whole approach to running for president, it's like a page taken out of the Bill Clinton 1992 playbook, a page taken out of the playbook of Kamala Harris standing at the side of celebrities. And as she stood at the side of celebrities, she thought that celebrities would have influence over black voters. However, it didn't have any influence over black voters because black voters now know that celebrities are not allies of foundational black Americans due to the numerous videos made by those of us in new black media showing us how many of these black celebrities have completely sold out. And it made things worse because many of these black celebrities basically have not shown any interest in the struggles of the average everyday American. And optically, many of the celebrities Kamala Harris wound to stand with, like Beyonce and Cardi B, they basically were some of the worst people to go out here and say that you got an endorsement from. I mean, from an optical standpoint, where you have black people struggling with the highest unemployment and black women struggling with the worst health care, it's optically bad to have women like Beyonce, who are millionaires, and women like Cardi B, who've gone out here on record saying that she has basically participated as related to alleged crimes against men that she drugged and robbed. I mean, optically, that's not a good look for a candidate to be standing at the side of these kinds of individuals. But the people who were advising Kamala Harris told her to just go out here and stand at the side of black celebrities, not understanding that many of these black celebrities, many black people had no real connection to them anymore, because many people, again, did not go out here and were that invested in legacy media. No, more and more people are invested in new black media, and that is the impact that we see from the fallout of the 2024 election. We see that the whole media platform has shifted, and nobody is really looking at these black celebrities anymore as being influential. And Kamala Harris basically learned a hard lesson about these black celebrities and the legacy black media bootlicks. These people have no influence anymore, and that was shown by the numbers and statistics as related to the black vote. And most people, again, wound up staying home because they got their information from new black media, which told us the truth about these black celebrities, told us the truth about black celebrities, and also told us the truth about these media pundits and shills. And while these individuals went out here shilling hard, they thought that their whole approach was going to appeal to black people, but their whole approach wound up completely failing for two reasons. One is because many of these celebrities were basically old, faded celebrities, and many of them were sitting there again in their high towers with their money and not caring about the issues of black people by standing at the side of a woman whose record as related to black people was terrible. And two, many of these black celebrities and black pundits, basically, as they were out here, they looked to attack people, especially heterosexual black men. And as they looked to attack black people, this wound up turning people off, because if this candidate, again, wanted to appeal to black communities, you think you would go and talk to black people first. But no, instead of talking to black people, Kamala Harris's campaign went out here and talked at black women and looked to divide black men and black women with a gender divide. Unfortunately, black men and black women stood united, and as we stood united, many black people saw no reason to go take their booties to the poll to support a candidate and a party that has openly disrespected the black voting bloc. And this is where we started to see that crack that started in 2012 in the black voting bloc start to go from starting to crumble in 2016 and in 2020 to basically a major chunk of that bloc basically starting to fall completely off, and fall completely off due to the unethical tactics that the Blue Party has been implementing over the last couple of years. And all of this has been reported and noted by new black media, reported and recorded by new black media, which has been talking regularly about these whole issues all around. I mean, new black media has been out here actively talking about these stories, connecting with an audience, connecting with people, and ushering in this paradigm shift, a paradigm shift that basically became to full fruition in 2024, and came to full fruition because we now see that the legacy media's whole bootlicks and shills have no influence. We see that basically with the complete debacle of this 2024 election and all the media coverage that was built up And not only that coverage, but also the social media coverage, where these black celebrities basically went berserk in their campaigning for Kamala Harris, to the point where they were out here not endorsing a candidate, but basically participating in propaganda. Propaganda where they basically look to just, again, bully and coerce people into supporting Kamala Harris. And this wound up alienating the already alienated black voting bloc, and showed how the legacy black media had no credibility whatsoever, and lost all of its credibility and influence over the black masses in this 2024 election. Now, there was a time again when Oprah Winfrey was the kingmaker of Barack Obama back in 2008, but that was an era when we were in the middle of analog TV, and we only had people like Oprah Winfrey being brought out here to be the face of black people and the person we were supposed to look up to and have the influence over black people. However, that whole landscape of media changed in 2009, and it changed in 2009 when TV went digital. And once TV went digital, people, especially black people, started moving over to the internet. And as they moved over to the internet, we got the rise of the YouTuber and the rise of black YouTube. And the rise of black YouTube basically changed the landscape from a gynocentric matriarchal perspective to a perspective where we got some balance, and we got the counterpoints of early pioneers like Rick Scorpio, Ringo, Dan Freeman, and many others. And that started what they would call the gender wars, but it really started, again, changing the picture of media. Moreover, as we came into 2012, again, David Carroll, I have to acknowledge his impact on new black media, because if it wasn't for him going out here and putting up no hope, no change for the Negro, nothing would have changed as related to media. And 12 years later, we start to see the impact of that video, and again, the impact as related to all the progress we've made with new black media. I mean, new black media came out the big winner as related to the 2024 election. New black media basically came out the big winner because new black media showed its impact, that it could basically impact an national election, and new black media showed its impact that it could basically influence a whole generation of voters. This was 12 years of hard work of many YouTubers who wound up getting their channels flagged and taken down through censorship campaigns. This was what happened. They continued to persevere, and as they continued to persevere, they managed to again make significant change. And the change that they made was they basically rendered all of these cable shills and bootlicks and even black Hollywood celebrities' voices irrelevant. I mean, the black celebrities basically, they have no more influence or credibility whatsoever as related to black communities. And when it comes to many of the pundits, the Joy Reids, the Roland Martins, the Van Jones, many of these people no longer have any more influence over black voters, and that was a major impact that was felt, because we see for the first time how much impact they had on black voters. Because this 2024 election, we can clearly see that black voters were listening to many YouTubers who were talking again against the Blue Party, like David Carroll used to do, and speaking about their whole approaches and policies. Not to mention, we started to see the people talking more seriously about tangibles. And since black people saw they were getting no tangibles as related to Joe Biden, this is one of the reasons why black people didn't vote. And as things went on, we started to see the impact of new black media. That's how we saw that empty Kamala Harris campaign for black men, where she made that proposal. That was a result of her possibly having people who started to listen to new black media. But sadly, it was too little too late, and too little too late, because they didn't want to go out here and support black voters. No, they wanted to go out here and to see what they could get for nothing. And as they tried to give black people nothing, we basically stayed home, and that again shows the fallout of the 2024 election, a fallout that we saw, a fallout we saw as related to the completely changing perspective of black media. I mean, we saw again 12 years of an impact of new black media on the black community, and we saw the impact of 12 years of new black media again changing the paradigm of black voters who in 2008 would vote straight down a blue ticket, but now are demanding more from their politicians and are getting to the point where now that we see that there is an impact of new black media, now that we're seeing the new black media having an influence, this is where I say that, again, this is where we start to say, as a black voting bloc, what we have to do is start to build on this momentum. And the way we build on this momentum is to start laying out our agenda. This is where we all have to come together and come together towards hammering out our agenda, and then go out here after hammering out our agenda, look to go out here and start picking our own candidates. This is what the late David Carroll detailed in many of his classic masterpieces when he was alive. He gave us the blueprint for this, and again, the only way to start getting tangibles like an anti-black hate crime bill, tangibles like reparations, and tangibles like actual police reform is to go out here and start picking our own candidates. This is what we have to start working on, because now that we've proven that the black vote has power and that the black vote can change an election, now that we've proven that the black vote has an impact on elections and has an impact on the entire direction of the nation, this is where we start to show the value of the black vote by having tangibles to present and demand, because it's that agenda that needs to be leading black people. It's that agenda that needs to be the focus of how we move. And it's not about having leaders. That was the mistake many of us made in the 60s, getting behind people like a Dr. King or a Malcolm X, or going out here and getting behind an individual, or getting misled by a Barack Obama. No, you have to have the agenda, and the agenda needs to drive the base. And again, the agenda is the focus of the base. That's what black people have to start focusing on. Is the next step is an agenda, because this is a marathon and not a sprint. And that's what we have to see as related to the fallout of the 2024 election and its influence on black media and the black voting bloc. We have to understand that as part of new black media, we have to understand that the next step is our agenda, and the next step is our agenda in this marathon, and focusing on getting people who now see that tangibles are what we need to focus on as related to our vote. The next step in the process is hammering out the agenda of the tangibles we want, and then after hammering out the agenda of the tangibles we want, what we need to do next is then pick the candidates who we will hold accountable for the agenda and getting the tangibles back to us. I mean, this is a marathon, and we are making progress. We have made a lot of progress since 2012, and the fallout of this is that we see that we've basically broken the legacy media's bootlicks and shills. We have broken the influence of the black celebrity over the black masses, and now you have a lot more black people with open minds. And we see that that was the fallout of the 2024 election, a fallout basically showing us that people are no longer following the legacy black media hand-picked shills and the hand-picked influencers like Oprah Winfrey. No, what they're following now is voices on new black media, and new black media has basically replaced all of those people. That's the major fallout as related to black media. The whole face of black media has completely changed, and as the face of black media has completely changed, we are now in a new era where new black media is now the place for black media, and with new black media the place for black media, we have to continue controlling the narrative and controlling the agenda of the narrative so that we can continue to start taking control of our image and start taking our power as black people. Now, this is a follow-up to the series of live streams talking about the fallout of the 2024 election, and you can watch the other two live streams with the links that I'm going to put in the description box. And if you want to check out some of my action-packed fiction on the SJS Direct imprint or my men's issues nonfiction, you can find all those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com, and you can find them at other online booksellers like Drafted Digital, Google Play, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me continue to make videos talking about black issues or talking about just general topics, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati. The man who rules the world takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.